Morning, everybody. Welcome to New Life Church, whether you're in person here or online. We're glad you're here. Facebook, Instagram, and live human beings. It's a wonderful thing. I'm Jimmy. I'm the pastor here at New Life. And we've been in a short series of heroes of the Bible, heroes of the Old Testament. And as usual, I start with a discussion question. And we've been talking about these heroes, these regular people that God was able to do extraordinary things through them, and that's what made them heroic. They themselves were just humans, but God did things. He gave them heroic abilities, basically, that we could all emulate. So my question is for today, because we always do a discussion question. I'm going to check on Facebook and on Instagram and see if you answer. And I'm asking you all that are here present, who is your real life hero? Like somebody that you personally know or knew that's your hero and that you want to emulate. You want to be like this person.
My grandpa.
Grandpa?
My dad.
Dad? Good stuff. Anybody else?
Yeah, you got a good daughter.
Yep. I know these are tough questions I ask. To me, it was just like boom, right away. I thought of my dad. And like I said, my dad is one of those people. He wasn't perfect, but God did things in him, and there's characteristics that I want to emulate in my life, and I hope that I make him proud. So today we're going to talk about another hero of the Bible, and we're talking about Joseph, Old Testament Joseph. And Joseph is known for his heroic integrity. And we're going to explore a little bit about what that meant and learn a little bit about the integrity of Joseph, and then see if we can learn some lessons from some of the things that he's done and shown us. So the story of Joseph is basically, well, it's in the book of Genesis, and it's chapters 37 through 50. We're not going to read all that today, but I do encourage you to read some of this stuff. Read about Joseph, because his story is amazing. And Joseph, I mean, we see some good heroes in the Bible, like Peter. When we read about Peter, there's some stuff that he did that was kind of like, oh, dude. But with Joseph, I didn't see any bad things when I've studied Joseph, anything that he really like messed up, and it's like, oh man, why did they put that in the Bible? Joseph is one of those guys that had integrity from as soon as we start to hear about him, read about him. So a little bit of background: Joseph, his father's name was Jacob, and he had two wives and quite a few concubines, people that were there to help prolong his lineage. And his first wife was Leah, and he had to. Long story, read it sometime, but long story short, he had to marry Leah before he could marry the love of his life, Rachel. So he did that, and of course, he still ended up having kids with Leah, even though Rachel was the love of his life. But once he married Rachel, he was this was the one. This is like I said, the love of his life, and his firstborn son was Joseph, and because it was the child from his one great, true, wonderful love, Joseph was the most loved out of all of Jacob's kids. And the brothers, his older brothers and stuff, they were not having it. Joseph was the punk kid that got all dad's attention, all of dad's love, and they grew jealous. They hated him. They resented him. And when he was 17 years old, things started to escalate. Joseph's dad wanted to show everybody how much he loved Joseph. So he made this beautiful coat, or tunic basically, and that's where we hear of the coat of many colors. If you ever saw, like there was that musical, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, he had this beautiful coat that everyone, he could wear around and everybody saw, because it had all these colors, it had all this, it was just like this huge thing that basically his dad was saying, this is my beloved son, and he deserves the very best I have to give him. So, of course, the brothers weren't too pleased with him. And it got even worse because right around the time he was 17, he had a dream. Joseph did, and his dream basically was that the interpretation was that one day all of them would bow down to Joseph. All the brothers and everyone would bow down to Joseph. It's not exactly the best way to win over a tough crowd, right? To say, someday you guys are all going to be bowing down to me, right? Like, they already can't stand this kid, and now this is happening. And I don't think Joseph was doing it to rub it in their faces. It was the youthful exuberance. I mean, I'd be pretty excited if I had a dream like that, and probably not have that filter to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't tell the brothers who hate me already. But that happened, and it just fed the resentment. It was the last straw for these brothers. And soon, then, the brothers were off feeding the flocks, way off, like 50 miles away. Actually, 60, because they went farther, 65, because they went farther than they had said they were going to be, feeding the flocks. And Jacob, the dad, wanted to send Joseph to check on the brothers, see how things were going, report back, let dad know how everything was going. So he put on his beautiful coat of many colors and headed out to go check on the brothers. Before he even got there, the brothers noticed him from a distance. They saw him coming, and they started talking. They started talking among themselves, and that jealousy, that anger was just blowing up, and it finally came to a head, and they decided, we're going to kill Joseph. Then we don't have to worry about this dreamer, this daddy's favorite, the one that gets all the love. They're going to kill him. So when he got there, they grabbed him, they stripped him of that coat of many colors, threw him into a pit, and took a lunch break, which was kind of weird to me. But they stopped, took a break, and had some food. I'm guessing it's because Joseph brought them some food. So they stopped, and they planned their strategy. What are we going to do next? What's our next step? How are we going to do this? We're going to tear up the coat, many colors, and put some blood on it and say an animal got Joseph. And so they had this whole thing going, and while they're eating, they saw this group of traders coming. They were coming and heading towards Egypt, and they got an idea. Hey, wait a minute. Why should we just kill him when we can make a few bucks? This kid will sell and be a good slave. So they decided to do that. They sold him to these traders, and they made some money, and they put animal blood on the robe, and they went back and told their father, Dad, I don't know what happened. An animal must have got him. I know you're sad, but you have 10 more of us, so you're okay. And his dad was heartbroken. So Joseph found himself in Egypt. He arrived in Egypt, and he was sold to the captain of Pharaoh's guards named Potiphar. And this is where we first start to see the integrity of Joseph. Because Joseph didn't whine, he didn't complain, he didn't rebel against Potiphar, his master, the one that owned him as a slave. Joseph didn't get on social media and start complaining and saying, I can't believe how unfair my brothers were, how bad this, and just totally try to get everybody on his side. He didn't air his dirty laundry to whoever would listen. Joseph remained faithful in the face of adversity. Genesis 39, verses 2 through 4. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man. He was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him. His master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all he did prosper in his hand. So Joseph found favor in his sight and served him. Then he made him overseer of the house, and all that he had he put under his authority. Joseph remained faithful, even in the least ideal situation. Even in being sold as a slave, he remained faithful to God. And soon we're introduced to what I like to call the first desperate housewife. Potiphar's wife, his master's wife. She's been in the house. She sees Joseph serving. Joseph has been given charge of the house. He's a young, handsome man. And she starts to notice, and she starts getting the ideas. Her brain starts going there. And in chapter 39, verse 7, and it came to pass after all these things that his master's wife cast longing eyes on Joseph, and she said, lie with me. But Joseph refused because he was better than that. Here's what he said, verse 8. He refused and said to his master's wife, look, my master does not know what is with me in the house, and he has committed all that he has to my hand. There's no one greater in this house than I, nor has he kept back anything from me but you, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? He wasn't having it. He wasn't all about that. He wanted nothing to do with sinning against God. But Potiphar's wife didn't give up. She kept on going on. Day after day, she was pushing. She was still probably walking around in skimpy stuff and, oh, I dropped this or whatever. And trying to get his attention, trying to get him to start thinking and get his mind to go there. Because once your mind goes there, then you're more likely to follow through. But Joseph didn't want anything to do with it. He stayed away. But one day, nobody else was in the house. Just him and Potiphar's wife. And she went for it again. This time she grabbed his tunic. Come on, Joseph, be with me. Lie with me. You know what, with me. And Joseph beat feet. He was like so determined to get away. He actually ran and left his tunic behind. So it would be nice, right, if that's where it ended. A nice story. Joseph resisted, and Potiphar's wife was like, okay, I'm done. I'll quit trying. No. That old saying, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, there's some credence to that. I don't think it's any male or female likes, will keep on going, and if they don't get their way, they're going to make you pay. Well, Potiphar's wife decided to make Joseph pay. She was embarrassed. She decided she's got to come up with a plan. She couldn't get him to do it, so now she's going to make up a story. She said that Joseph forced himself on her, and Potiphar threw Joseph in the king's prison. Integrity is sometimes defined as doing the right thing even when no one will find out. Joseph probably could have got away with this. Could have satisfied the urges of a young stud, basically, and gotten away with it. And done this with Potiphar's wife, and nobody would have known. But here's the application. Integrity is a choice. Failure of integrity begins with pride. I deserve it. The rules don't apply to me. I can walk that line just enough, say just enough between the good and the bad, and I'll do a few good things to make up for the bad thing that I did, or whatever. These things don't apply to me. I'm all good. That's where pride takes over and corrupts integrity. Joseph thought about his relationship with God, and he was true to his convictions. He told Potiphar's wife, no, I'm not going to do it. To him, it was more important that he not sin against God than that he sin and do what he wants to please his own fleshly desires. So Joseph found himself in prison, and he spent the rest of his days complaining that God abandoned him. No, that's not what happened. Even when faced with the unfair, Joseph had integrity. Unbreakable, unshakable, heroic integrity. I'm not sure I can say I would have responded the same at this point, honestly. Hated by your brothers, sold as a slave, falsely accused, thrown in prison. Come on, man, this is not fair. I think it'd be pretty easy for a lot of us to give up. But Joseph, as I said, had heroic integrity. And another lesson we can learn from Joseph when he was in prison. When we live in integrity, God works everything together for the good. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that all things together work for good for those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. It might not always seem like it. It might not always look like it's going to be good. I mean, you're sitting in prison. Things are not good. But God can use these things for his glory. Genesis 39, 31, or 21 through 23 shows you what happens when you remain in the Lord and in his integrity. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy, and he gave him favor in the sight of his keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatever they did there, it was his doing. The keeper of the prison did not look into anything that was under Joseph's authority, because the Lord was with him. And whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. Did you catch that? Now we've read 3 times, the Lord was with Joseph. There's another lesson for us. God does not abandon you. He will not abandon you. Even when you think situation like Joseph's or whatever, if you're in him, he will not abandon you. He's not going to abandon you anyway. He's always there. We might choose to abandon God, but God doesn't abandon us. And the Lord was with Joseph. Yes, it means he was present with Joseph at the time, but also the Lord was with Joseph. Joseph remained in God. Joseph remained in the presence of God at all times. He abided. He continued to walk with integrity, always choosing to please God. And God blessed Joseph because of that. God blessed Joseph because of his integrity. There's no denying God's presence in a person of integrity. Joseph is living proof of that, or was living proof of that. And Joseph earned trust, respect, and authority because of his integrity, because they knew that God was with Joseph. And God moved. In chapter 40, we learn about how the 2 prisoners in the jail with Joseph had dreams. They were bad, crazy dreams, and nobody knew what they meant. They couldn't understand what was going on, and Joseph interpreted the dreams. One of them, the Pharaoh's One of them, the chief butler of the Pharaoh, later returned to his position in Pharaoh's court. And 2 years later, Pharaoh had a dream in chapter 41, and nobody could interpret it. The butler finally remembered Joseph after 2 years when he said, "Don't worry, when I leave and you've interpreted my dream, I'm going to remember you forever. I'm going to tell Pharaoh how wonderful a guy you are and that you can do these things. The Lord is with you." And he forgot about him for 2 years until Pharaoh had this dream. And none of Pharaoh's main guys could interpret. Nobody knew what it meant. And the butler said, "Wait a minute, there was this guy Joseph that we served time together. And I had a dream and he interpreted it. He was able to tell me what it meant. The Lord was with him. He was able to do this." So Pharaoh called on Joseph, said, come, here's my dream. This is what happened. This is what it was. And Joseph was able to interpret the dream. He said, "Pharaoh, I got some good news and I got some bad news for you. There's going to be 7 years that this land will be prosperous. And things are going to be going great. And you'll have more than you need. But then there's going to be 7 years of famine. And people are going to die. People are going to be starving to death, not have enough food, not have anything. And people are going to get weak." Another lesson from Joseph. Integrity doesn't compromise. Because Joseph's taking a risk here. When he tells Pharaoh about this stuff, that's taking a risk because Pharaoh was known to have a temper. If you offended Pharaoh, like his cupbearer or his chief butler or whatever, you get thrown in prison. You ran the risk of being killed. But Joseph didn't lie or water down the truth in order to save his skin. He told the truth because a man and woman of integrity speaks the truth. And God gave Joseph wisdom. Joseph spoke the truth, and then he gave godly advice. He told Pharaoh, these 7 years of prosperity, appoint somebody, an overseer that can take and store up, that knows what to do, knows how to store stuff the right way, and store things up, and you'll be able to get through this. And as a result, in verses 37 through 44, so the Lord was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said to his servants, "Can we find such a one as this, a man whom is the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Inasmuch as God has shown you all this, there is no one as discerning and wise as you. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall be ruled according to your word. Only in regard to the throne will I be greater than you." And Pharaoh said to Joseph, "See, I have set you over all the land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh took his signet ring off his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. And he clothed him in garments of fine linen and pure gold chain around his neck. And he had him ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried out before him, "Bow the knee." So he set him over all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh also said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh. Without your consent, no man may lift his head or foot in all the land of Egypt." Sometimes integrity pays off, right? Sometimes when you think that I'm risking my neck, I'm putting myself out there, Pharaoh could really not be happy with me. When you're in your job, when you're just in the world, and you have that like old cartoon, the angel and the devil on your shoulder, and you hear the voice saying, "Well, you can get away with this. You don't have to tell the truth in this situation." But we can learn from Pharaoh. The truth will set you free. Pharaoh's dream came true, and Joseph grew to great power and authority, but he didn't abuse it. He never stopped walking with God. He never thought to himself, "I got this. I earned this position. I got here because I'm so awesome." He never stopped walking with God. He recognized the source of his blessings. And during the famine, Joseph's dream came true. About 17 years after his brothers sold him to slavery, they came seeking food in this famine. 2 years into the famine, they came seeking food. And they didn't recognize Joseph because it had been quite a few years. Joseph had grown from a 17-year-old to double his age at least. And he recognized his brothers. And here's where I'm really blown away by Joseph. The human side, the flesh side of Joseph didn't win over. He didn't seek revenge or retaliation over his brothers. Granted, he tested them. He wanted to see if they had actually changed, if there was remorse. And he had every right to punish them for what they did. But when he saw the change, he forgave them. He dropped it. He didn't make them earn his love and forgiveness. These days, I see so much of that cancel culture. Somebody made a mistake. I know an actor that he made some stupid tweets back 15 years ago or so, 10 years ago I think it was, and on Twitter, and said some really dumb things. He was immature and dumb, and he said some dumb things. And he's since apologized for it. But he lost his job on TV. He's blackballed from Hollywood because of something that he did, even though he's shown remorse. Have you ever had that where you realize, I messed up, and you apologize, but the person still wants to drum it into your head how much you need to pay for what you've done? Joseph forgave him, dropped it. Not another word after that about what they had done. In Genesis 45, 3-8, then Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Does my father still live?" But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. And Joseph said to his brother, "Please come near to me." So they came near, and they said, "I'm Joseph, your brother." Or he said, "I'm Joseph, your brother, whom you sold to Egypt. But now, do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years of the famine have been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. And God sent me before you to preserve a posterity for you in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you who sent me here, but God, and he made me a father to Pharaoh, and Lord of all his house, with ruler throughout the land of Egypt. How amazing is that? No, he forgave his brothers for something they deserved to be punished for. He forgave them and never brought it up again. This wonderful example of God's forgiveness for you and for me. Psalm 103:12 says, "As far as the east is from the west, so has he removed our transgressions from us." Joseph talked the talk, walked the walk at all times. With unwavering faith and determination, he moved forward in God's will, no matter what came at him. He walked in integrity, heroic integrity. We're all faced with challenges, maybe not to the extent that Joseph was faced with, but we do face temptations. We're tempted with money, finances, satisfying the urges of the flesh. We're tempted with pride and gossip, all kinds of stuff that we're tempted with that the enemy throws at us, all the stuff that just wants us to get out of sync of the step of integrity. Soon, I believe, we're going to be prosecuted for our faith. There's going to be persecuted, not prosecuted. Maybe that too, but I believe we'll be persecuted for our faith. It's already been said that the Bible is too offensive to people. There's too many things that they just can't accept. They can't accept that God actually has absolute truth. There's absolute right and wrong. People can't accept that. How are you going to respond when it's easier to give in, to blend, to deny? Don't get me wrong, integrity doesn't earn your ticket to heaven. We can never earn our way to heaven. It's a free gift, the grace of Jesus Christ. But integrity should be a response. We should be desiring to please the Lord, to live like him, to let our light shine before all men and glorify the Father. That's what integrity is. That's the definition. I can't get these big words out today. That's the definition of integrity. Doing the right thing, glorifying the Father, making godly choices. That's what a person of integrity does. Being a Christ follower doesn't shield you from challenges, but when we walk in integrity, like Joseph did, with God, everything works out for his glory. God, we thank you for the lesson we learned from Joseph, that integrity is a choice we can all make because we want to please you. We want to serve you. We want the world to see you through our choices, through our lives, and what we do. So God, I ask that you help us to continue to learn from Joseph, to be fully sold out for you. In Jesus' name, amen.